First Contact and Betrayal. Admiral James Harrison stood at the viewport of the International Space Station Hawking, watching as the massive alien vessel emerged from the shimmering portal at the edge of Earth's orbit. After centuries of wondering if we were alone in the universe, humanity finally had its answer. The ship belonged to the Kryvax Empire, a spacefaring civilization that claimed to have spent millennia searching for other intelligent life. The first meetings seemed promising. Commander Zalera, the Kryvax representative, spoke of cultural exchange and technological advancement. Her crystalline features and towering frame captivated Earth's media, and her promises of sharing faster-than-light technology excited the scientific community. Admiral Harrison, however, noticed something in those alien eyes that others missed, a predatory gleam that reminded him of documentary footage showing wolves stalking their prey. "They're being too generous," Harrison told his second-in-command, Captain Maya Patel, during a private briefing. "No civilization gives away their advantages without expecting something in return." Maya nodded, her dark eyes reflecting the same concern. The Chinese and Russian delegations are already signing technology transfer agreements. The EU is following suit tomorrow. And what exactly do the Kryvax want in return? Harrison asked, though he already suspected the answer. The aliens had shown particular interest in Earth's genetic diversity, especially humanity's rapid adaptation rate and cellular regeneration capabilities. The truth revealed itself 3 months after first contact. The Kryvax weren't explorers, they were hunters. Their empire had spent millennia perfecting the art of conquest through deception, presenting themselves as benefactors while secretly preparing their prey for harvest. Earth wasn't the first world they discovered, it was simply the latest in a long line of conquests. The attack began during what was supposed to be a diplomatic summit in Geneva. As Earth's leaders gathered to discuss further cooperation with the Kryvax, hidden weapons platforms deployed throughout the solar system activated. Antimatter bombs detonated in the atmosphere above every major city, while Kryvax shock troops materialized inside key military installations. Harrison watched in horror from the Hawking as the surface of his homeworld erupted in flames. But unlike previous civilizations the Kryvax had encountered, humanity refused to accept their fate. Even as the antimatter fires raged, resistance began to form. In the chaos of those first hours, Harrison made a decision that would change the course of the war. Instead of following protocol and attempting to contact what remained of Earth's government, he ordered every space station and orbital platform to launch an immediate attack on the Kryvax vessels. "Sir, we're outgunned and outmatched," Maya protested, even as she began coordinating the assault. "Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. They expect us to cower," Harrison replied, his voice hard with determination. "They expect us to beg for mercy or hide like rats in the ruins of our cities. Let's show them humanity's response to being hunted." The battle that followed was brief and brutal. Earth's orbital defenses were indeed primitive compared to Kryvax technology, but Harrison had noticed something during the diplomatic meetings: the aliens were methodical to a fault. They had protocols and procedures for everything, unable to comprehend warfare that didn't follow their carefully planned strategies. Harrison exploited this weakness. He ordered civilian satellites to be turned into kinetic weapons, creating a debris field that disrupted Kryvax energy shields. Maintenance pods performed suicide runs, their fusion cores detonating against enemy hull plates. It wasn't enough to win, but it was enough to bloody the Kryvax nose and buy time for the ground resistance to organize. Commander Zalera's voice crackled over the emergency frequencies, her previous diplomatic tone replaced by cold fury. "Your resistance is pointless, humans. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. Your species will serve as cattle for our evolution, just as all others have before you." Harrison's response was simple: "You should have done your homework, Commander. Humanity has a long history of turning hunters into prey." The weeks that followed were devastating. The Kryvax methodically destroyed Earth's military bases, industrial centers, and population clusters. But they discovered something unprecedented: humans fought back harder with each defeat. Underground bunkers became fortresses. Civilian tech was repurposed into weapons. Most importantly, humans began to understand Kryvak's technology, reverse engineering captured equipment with desperate speed. Maya found Harrison in his quarters 1 month into the war, examining casualty reports. "Sir, we've lost contact with the lunar colonies. But before they went dark, they transmitted something interesting." She handed him a tablet containing technical specifications. They cracked the Kryvak's shield modulators. Apparently, their entire defense system relies on predictable energy patterns. If we can disrupt those patterns. Harrison smiled for the first time since the war began. Then their superior technology becomes worthless. Get this to every resistance cell still operating. And Maya, tell them to start hunting. The Kryvaks had made a fatal mistake. They had judged humanity by their technology level, assuming primitive meant weak. They didn't understand that humans had spent their entire history adapting, surviving, and turning weaknesses into strengths. They couldn't comprehend that by attacking Earth, they hadn't found prey, they had awakened a predator that would reshape the galaxy. As Harrison watched Earth burn from orbit, he made a promise not just to survive, but to ensure the Kryvak's empire would learn the true meaning of fear. Humanity's transformation from peaceful explorers to the galaxy's most terrifying force had begun, and there would be no mercy for those who had shown none. Operation Nightfall. The massive underground hangar beneath the Atacama Desert buzzed with anticipation. Thousands of engineers and technicians made final adjustments to humanity's first true warships. These weren't the cobbled-together resistance vessels of the early war, they were purpose-built weapons of vengeance, designed with a single goal, bringing the fight to Kryvak space. Colonel Viktor Petrov, former Russian aerospace engineer and now commander of Earth's first stellar strike force, ran his hand along the obsidian hull of the flagship, Nemesis. The ship's surface was covered in experimental metamaterials that absorbed both light and sensor scans, making it nearly invisible to Kryvak's detection systems. "Beautiful, isn't she?" Dr. Yuki Tanaka approached, her tablet displaying final diagnostic readings. "The dimensional drive is stable, and the weapon systems have all passed their final tests. We're ready." Victor nodded, his scarred face reflecting in the ship's dark surface. "The Kryvaks expect us to keep fighting a defensive war. They still think we're trapped here, just trying to survive. They have no idea what's coming." Operation Nightfall had been in development for months. While the ground war raged across Earth's surface, humanity's best minds had worked tirelessly to create a fleet capable of taking the fight to the enemy. Each ship incorporated everything they'd learned about Kryvak's technology, combined with innovations born from humanity's desperate creativity. Admiral Maya Patel's voice echoed through the facility's comm system. "All personnel, final launch preparations. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. The launch would be humanity's most ambitious operation yet. 12 ships, each carrying enhanced human crews and experimental weapons, would strike simultaneously at key Kryvak's installations across their empire. The goal wasn't just to damage their military capabilities, it was to show the galaxy that humanity was done being hunted. In orbit, the remains of the Kryvak's invasion fleet maintained their blockade of Earth. Commander Zalera had been replaced months ago after her failures, her successor Arch-Commander Kron believing that a strict containment strategy would eventually force humanity's surrender. That assumption was about to cost him everything. The attack began at midnight UTC. Deep beneath the Earth's surface, dimensional drives powered up, creating controlled rifts in spacetime. But unlike the Kryvak's careful, methodical approach to FTL travel, these human-modified drives tore violent holes in reality. "All ships, execute jump sequence," Victor commanded from Nemesis's bridge. "Remember your training. Remember what they did to our world. Today, we show them what humanity does to those who try to hunt us." The ships emerged from their dimensional rifts directly inside Kryvak's defense perimeters. The aliens had never considered the possibility that their carefully calculated jump points could be bypassed, that anyone would be reckless enough to tear open space itself to gain tactical advantage. Victor's target was the Kryvax's primary shipyard in the Centauri sector. As Nemesis materialized inside the facility's defense grid, he gave the order that would become legendary across the galaxy: release the swarm. Millions of microscopic robots, each carrying a payload of engineered viruses, poured from the ship's launch tubes. The Kryvax's biological modifications, once their greatest strength, became their undoing. The nanites invaded their systems, turning their enhanced biology against them. Within hours, the massive shipyard became a tomb. Similar scenes played out across Kryvax space. The human ships struck with a savagery that shocked even their own crews. They didn't just destroy military targets, they contaminated entire worlds, turned defense stations into artificial black holes, and unleashed weapons that the Kryvax had never imagined possible. Dr. Rodriguez's voice crackled over the fleet's quantum comm network. The biological feedback is exceeding our projections. The virus is spreading faster than they can adapt. Their entire command structure is compromised. In the Arcturus sector, Lieutenant General Chen's strike team encountered heavy resistance. The Kryvax had concentrated their forces there, believing it to be secure. They learned too late that humanity had developed weapons specifically designed to turn their tactical doctrines against them. "They're trying to jump out," Chen reported as her ship, the Thanatos, engaged a Kryvax battle group. Activating dimensional disruptors. The sight of Kryvax ships being torn apart as they attempted to flee through their own jump points sent shockwaves through the alien empire. The species that had perfected FTL travel over millennia watched helplessly as their mastery of spacetime became their greatest vulnerability. Back on Earth, Maya monitored the operation's progress. Reports flooded in from across Kryvax space: military installations destroyed, shipyards in ruins, entire fleets trapped and annihilated. But it wasn't just military targets. Human ships specifically targeted the facilities where the Kryvax stored genetic material from conquered species. "Let them feel what it's like to lose everything," Maya whispered, remembering the billions who had died in the initial invasion. "Let them understand what happens when you turn humans into prey." The operation lasted just 24 hours, but its impact would echo through the galaxy for centuries. In a single day, humanity had transformed from a besieged species fighting for survival into an interstellar power that had dealt the mighty Kryvax Empire a blow from which it would never recover. Victor stood on Nemesis's observation deck, watching the ruins of the Centauri shipyard drift in space. His ship's AI reported that the virus had already spread to 17 nearby systems through the Kryvax's own transport networks. "Send word to Admiral Patel," he ordered. "Phase 1 is complete. The hunt has begun." The galaxy was about to learn a terrible truth: humanity hadn't just survived the Kryvax's attempt to harvest them, they had evolved into something far more dangerous than their would-be conquerors could have imagined. The species that had once looked to the stars with hope and wonder now brought only terror and vengeance. Operation Nightfall marked the beginning of humanity's revenge, but it was far from the end. The Kryvax would soon discover that their greatest mistake wasn't attacking Earth, it was teaching humans how to wage war among the stars. The hunter becomes the hunted. 3 months after Operation Nightfall, the galaxy witnessed something unprecedented: the complete collapse of Kryvax defensive lines across 200 star systems. Humanity's warships, now equipped with enhanced dimensional drives and biological weapons, pushed deeper into enemy territory with methodical precision. But it wasn't just military victories that terrified the galaxy, it was the way humans waged war. On the bridge of the destroyer Harbinger, Captain Raj Sharma watched as another Kryvax colony world burned. His ship's sensors detected thousands of escape pods launching from the surface, desperate civilians fleeing the nanite swarms that had already consumed their cities. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the evacuation ships are requesting mercy. They're carrying non-military personnel." Raj's expression remained cold. "Deploy the interceptors." No survivors. That's the price of their empire's ambition. The Harbinger's AI recorded everything, broadcasting the destruction across Kryvak's communication channels. This wasn't just warfare, it was psychological terrorism on a galactic scale. Humanity wanted every Kryvak's world to witness what happened to those who had supported the invasion of Earth. In the Orion sector, Dr. Yuki Tanaka's latest weapon underwent its first combat test. The Void Seed, a device that created localized areas where the laws of physics broke down, turned the Kryvak's fortress world into a spatial anomaly that would take centuries to stabilize. The weapon exceeded specifications, Yuki reported to Admiral Maya Patel. Any Kryvak ship that approaches the anomaly will have its dimensional drive torn apart. We've effectively cut off their primary supply route to the core worlds. Maya studied the tactical displays in her command center, now housed in a mobile fleet base. The war had evolved beyond recognition. Earth's surface was slowly being reclaimed, but humanity's focus had shifted to the stars. They weren't fighting for survival anymore, they were fighting for dominance. The other galactic powers are getting nervous, Maya noted, reviewing diplomatic intercepts. The Arcturian Confederation is particularly concerned about our technological advancement rate. Let them worry, Lieutenant General Chen replied from her position in the Carina sector. They stood by and watched while the Kryvaks tried to harvest us. Now they can watch what happens to species that mistake humanity for prey. The transformation of human society was as dramatic as their military evolution. The species that had once dreamed of peaceful first contact now approached all alien life with ruthless pragmatism. Every captured piece of technology, every scrap of alien knowledge, was weaponized with terrifying efficiency. Dr. Marcus Rodriguez's genetic engineering program had produced a new generation of human soldiers. These warriors could survive in space without suits, regenerate from catastrophic injuries, and interface directly with their ship systems. The Kryvaks' biological modifications seemed primitive in comparison. We've surpassed their evolutionary potential, Marcus explained during a strategic briefing. Every attempt they make to adapt to our weapons only gives us more data to improve them. They're not just losing the war, they're becoming obsolete. The Kryvaks' empire, once proud and seemingly invincible, had fractured under humanity's relentless assault. Their remaining worlds turned on each other, some attempting to surrender, others calling for a fight to the last individual. Their civilization, built on the conquest and harvest of other species, was experiencing something entirely new, extinction-level fear. Colonel Viktor Petrov, now fleet commander of humanity's strike forces, coordinated the final pushes toward the Kryvaks' core worlds. The Nemesis had become a legend, its black hull appearing without warning above doomed planets. The ship's very name caused Kryvaks' defenders to abandon their posts. They're trying to sue for peace, Victor informed Maya during a secure transmission. The Kryvaks' High Command is offering unconditional surrender. They'll give us everything, their technology, their worlds, their entire empire. Maya's response reflected humanity's new nature. Peace was an option before they burned our cities. Before they slaughtered our children. Now they get to experience what we've learned about extinction events. The other spacefaring civilizations watched in horror as humanity systematically dismantled the Kryvaks' empire. Diplomatic missions begged for restraint, offering to mediate a peace settlement. They were ignored. Humanity had learned that the galaxy understood only one language: power enforced through terror. Captain Sharma's ships encountered a refugee fleet near the Pleiades cluster. Thousands of civilian vessels, carrying millions of Kryvaks trying to escape humanity's advance. In an earlier age, Earth's military would have shown mercy. Instead, the Harbinger's weapons opened fire, creating a debris field that would serve as a warning to others. Log it in the combat record, Raj ordered. Let the galaxy see what happens when you underestimate humanity's capacity for vengeance. The war had stopped being about victory, it was about sending a message to every spacefaring species. Humanity would never again be seen as primitive or weak. They had learned from their enemies, adapted their technologies, and evolved into something that made even the Kryvax seem merciful in comparison. As the human fleet approached the Kryvax homeworld, Maya broadcast a message across all frequencies: you came to Earth believing you would find easy prey. Instead, you awakened something that will haunt this galaxy for millennia. Your empire dies today, but the fear you created, the monster you made of humanity, that lives forever. The galaxy was witnessing the birth of its new apex predator, and the age of terror was just beginning. Reckoning. The Kryvax homeworld of Zarkax hung in space like a jewel, its crystalline cities reflecting the light of 3 suns. For millennia, it had been the heart of an empire that spanned thousands of worlds. Now it was the last refuge of a species facing extinction, its orbital defenses crowded with the remnants of once mighty fleets. Admiral Maya Patel stood on the bridge of humanity's new flagship, the Nemesis Prime, surrounded by holographic displays showing the positions of Earth's armada. 5,000 ships, each carrying weapons that could crack planets, waited for her command. The vessel itself was a testament to how far humanity had come, built using technologies that made their original stolen Kryvax designs seem primitive. Final status report, she ordered, her augmented eyes scanning tactical readouts. Dr. Yuki Tanaka's hologram appeared at the tactical station. The void seeds are primed. We can collapse their entire solar system into a dimensional anomaly. Just say the word. From his position leading the ground assault forces, Colonel Viktor Petrov reported, drop teams are ready. Our enhanced soldiers can breach their defensive lines within hours. The Kryvax had spent the last week broadcasting desperate pleas for mercy. They offered technology, worlds, even their own genetic legacy. But humanity had evolved beyond the point where such offerings held meaning. They had surpassed their former tormentors in every way. Dr. Marcus Rodriguez, now director of Humanity's Biological Warfare Division, joined the command conference. The final strain is ready. If deployed, it will unravel their genetic modifications at the molecular level. Everything they stole from other species, everything they built themselves into, it all comes undone. Maya nodded, remembering the billions who had died in Earth's cities. Deploy everything. Let's finish this. The battle for Zarkax broke every rule of warfare the galaxy had known. Human ships didn't just attack, they rewrote the laws of physics around their targets. Void seeds created areas where space itself became a weapon. Nanite swarms devoured Kryvax ships from the inside out. Enhanced human soldiers, more transhuman than baseline human now, tore through defensive positions with terrifying efficiency. From his command post in the Kryvax capital, Supreme Overlord Kextal watched his civilization's final moments approach. Please, he broadcast on all frequencies, we surrender completely. We acknowledge humanity's supremacy. Show mercy as we should have shown you. Captain Raj Sharma's response from the Harbinger was cold, mercy died on Earth. The systematic destruction of Zarkax took 3 days. Human forces didn't just defeat the Kryvax, they erased them from existence. Cities were consumed by engineered plagues. Defense platforms collapsed into artificial singularities. The crystalline spires that had stood for thousands of years dissolved under nanite swarms. Lieutenant General Chen, coordinating the ground war, reported success after success. Their enhanced biology is working against them. The virus is spreading faster than projected. Their entire population will be affected within hours. But it wasn't just military victory that humanity sought. This was about sending a message to the galaxy. Every moment of the Kryvax's extinction was broadcast across all frequencies. Every scream, every plea, every desperate attempt at surrender was recorded and transmitted. Dr. Tanaka's voice carried a note of awe as she monitored the void seed's effect. The dimensional collapse is cascading through their solar system. Within a year, nothing will remain except a spatial anomaly that will serve as a navigation hazard for millennia. Maya stood at the viewport, watching the final phase of humanity's revenge unfold. The species that had once looked to the stars with hope and wonder had become something else entirely. They had taken the Kryvax's attempt to harvest them and turned it into a force of evolution, becoming something that surpassed their would-be conquerors in ways that defied comprehension. As the last Kryvax transmissions fell silent, Maya addressed her fleet, "Let this be a lesson to all who witness it. Humanity will never again be prey. We are no longer bound by the moral constraints that made us vulnerable. We are no longer limited by the technological gaps that made us weak. We are humanity ascendant, and the galaxy will remember this day for as long as stars burn." The destruction of the Kryvax Empire sent shockwaves through galactic civilization. Other species, some of whom had secretly supported the Kryvax invasion of Earth, now faced a terrifying new reality. Humanity hadn't just survived, they had evolved into something that made their former tormentors seem benevolent in comparison. In the aftermath, Earth's fleets didn't return home. Instead, they established bases throughout former Kryvax space, claiming technologies and resources that would fuel humanity's continued evolution. The message was clear: the galaxy now belonged to humanity, and any species that challenged this new order would face the same fate as the Kryvax. Dr. Rodriguez, studying the final data from Zarkax's destruction, made an observation that would echo through history: we didn't just defeat them. We succeeded where they failed. They wanted to harvest our potential, instead, we realized it ourselves, in ways they never imagined possible. The war that had begun with an attempt to harvest humanity had ended with humanity becoming the ultimate harvester. The galaxy's new apex predator had emerged, forged in the fires of vengeance and tempered by an evolution born of necessity. As the void seeds completed their work, erasing the last traces of Zarkax from existence, Maya issued her final order: send word to Earth. The hunt is over. We've become what they feared most, not just survivors, not just conquerors, but the very embodiment of cosmic terror. The galaxy is ours, and it will never forget the price of underestimating humanity. The stars themselves seemed to dim as humanity's fleets dispersed into the darkness, carrying with them the promise, or perhaps the threat, of a new era in galactic history. The war was over, but humanity's transformation had only begun.